India is one of the most religiously diverse countries, with four of the oldest religions originating from within its borders. Despite the variety in religious traditions, India is 80% Hindu. Out of the remaining 20% of the population, about 14% identifies as Muslim. Unfortunately, India has a long history of Hindu-Muslim conflict and violence. In recent years, a rise in far-right views and Hindu nationalism has coincided with violence against India's Muslim populations. Many of these Hindu nationalists believe that Muslims threaten the continuation of India as a Hindu-majority country. This fear manifests in many ways, including in the religious politics of cattle. In Hinduism, the cow is seen as a sacred animal. Many Hindus do not consume beef or work in cattle-related careers, as these are seen as religiously impure jobs that damage the individual's religious merit and chances for a better reincarnation in the next life. For the Muslim minority, however, cattle is not viewed with the same religious symbolism. Many Indian Muslims rely on the cattle industry to provide themselves with food and income. This is reflected in the statistics. India is the largest exporter and the fifth largest consumer of beef globally. In recent years, Muslim cattle workers in India have been violently targeted by Hindu nationalists who claim to be fighting for the rights of the religiously symbolic cow. These self-proclaimed cow protectors target Muslim cattle workers in horrific acts of violence, from blackmailing and violently forcing them to pray to Hindu deities, to burning of Muslim homes and workplaces, beatings, stonings, hangings, and mob lynchings. Often, Muslims are attacked for being suspected of slaughtering cows when in fact they have not. In the midst of the religious violence, the Hindu majority has worked to put cattle protection laws into place. Many of the laws and the increase in Hindu nationalism is influenced by the current Prime Minister of India, Narendra Modi, who has been an active member and figurehead of multiple Hindu nationalist groups. Although the exact laws vary between Indian states, many criminalize cow trade, slaughter, and beef consumption, which greatly impacts the Muslim population's source of income and food. Modern moral foundations theory can help explain the similarities and variances between and within cultural moral systems. The theory also helps to explain how we develop and defend our moral positions, as they are often in part due to evolutionary and biological factors. For instance, we tend to favor things that help keep the species alive, healthy, and strong, while avoiding things that damage safety and survival. Due to this evolutionary moral hardwiring, many moral positions act almost as reflexes. They are automatic, we often struggle to pinpoint why exactly we hold the positions we hold, and we find it difficult to consider other points of view. The moral foundations theory breaks down the reasoning for why we have these automatic moral gut reactions into categories, including care, fairness, loyalty, authority, and purity. The care aspect describes our evolutionary tendencies to protect our species and hold distaste for things that harm ourselves and others. From the Hindu nationalist perspective, Muslim cattle farmers are harming the safety of the Hindu identity by farming cattle without legal regulation, as this goes against the majority of Hindus' religious morality. Harming cattle is also seen as an act against the moral of care, as revered animals are being slaughtered. This group may hold beliefs that the protection of cattle and the fellow Hindu in-group is necessary, but is being threatened by the external moral tribe of Muslim cattle farmers. Despite this, the violent attacks show a lack of care for the Indian Muslim population and larger identity of India in the Muslim perspective, where it seems that cattle matters more than the lives of fellow humans, given the acts of violence that have occurred. Additionally, creating laws that criminalize cattle farmers could be seen as an assault to the care of India as a whole, as cattle is a valuable economic commodity. By increasing regulations, cattle may be protected, but the socioeconomic status of India would likely be harmed. This would reduce the quality of life for all Indian citizens, regardless of religious morals. The fairness aspect of the theory might be seen as threatened, as Hindus represent the vast majority of India, and often feel that this should be represented in the ways the cattle industry laws are made and carried out, for example, protecting the greatest amount of people in India's religious beliefs. However, Muslim cattle farmers might argue that this society is unjust, as it does not protect the religious or socio-economic freedoms of all citizens. Evolutionarily, social harmony is necessary for the survival of the group, and although the majority often rules, considering the perspectives of all people would create greater social cohesion. Loyalty to one's religious group or political ideology was important evolutionarily to defend the group from outside threats. Greater loyalty means greater social cohesion and cooperation that ensures the larger group can thrive. On both sides, individuals have automatic moral intuitions that create in-group loyalty to their religious and political groups. However, loyalty differs between Muslim and Hindu groups when it comes to a shared identity as Indian citizens, as Hindu nationalists often do not consider Indian Muslims as Indian. Moral intuitions regarding authority seem to stem from the evolutionary importance of loyalty and to the benefits of survival that following leaders has had. Hindu nationalists may identify with current politicians such as Narendra Modi, who promote loyalty to the in-group to protect its self-interests of creating a country where that in-group remains in control. Purity is a religiously tied issue that motivates both sides of the conflict. On the Hindu side, cattle farming and those who rely on it for work and food are deemed impure and have very low religious merit. The Muslim perspective differs as cattle does not hold the same symbolism of purity, and this group does not view their economic or lifestyle needs as impure. On one hand, Hindu nationalist cattle laws fight for a more religiously pure society, but go against other Hindu values such as doing no harm to other living things, as they directly fuel Islamophobic violence and prevent Muslims from living their lives safely. On the Hindu nationalist perspective, increased legal regulations about cattle trade and increased violence against Muslim farmers address these issues by strengthening and preserving in-group morals, which protect the Hindu identity and the religious symbology of the cow. On the Muslim side, however, increased legal regulations and violence mean damage to their in-group morals, safety, and social cultural thriving and preservation. My gut reactions to the issue are rooted in my values of nonviolence and equality due to my own social and political beliefs. My perspective is likely rooted in liberal perspectives on religious and social freedoms, which I acknowledge are in part due to the environment I grew up in and continue to choose to be a part of. As someone with complex religious beliefs, as well as someone who advocates for reasonable animal rights, I do not think it is morally just to use religion as a tool for political means. I also believe that although human and animal lives are both valuable, violence or killing of humans is not a morally justifiable solution to protecting the lives of another species. This likely stems from the views of the society I grew up in, which deems meat consumption as morally acceptable. Even though I do not consume meat, I still hold this value. Another aspect of the situation is fairness. I feel everyone should be able to safely practice their religious tradition without harming others, but that one group does not have the rights to dictate the lifestyle of another religious group. Although this has been an issue in the US, especially recently, my belief likely comes from the messages of religious freedom I learned about growing up in a religiously diverse country. I strongly advocate for protection of religious freedoms, but do not believe that the rights of one group to practice their religion should negatively impact others who do not belong to that tradition. In regards to religious freedoms, I hold more of a libertarian view, where all people are free to practice or to not practice their religions in the way they choose, so long as this free practice does not encroach on the religious or social rights of others. I also take a utilitarian perspective on the social and economic aspect of the situation. Although I feel like democracy is important to create laws that best represent the majority needs, I do not support the cattle laws as they damage the livelihood and basic needs of a large portion of the Indian population, which in turn impacts everyone in the population. I believe that interfaith tolerance promotes a stronger society and that the needs of one group do not need to cause the downfall of another group. By maximizing the happiness of both groups, perhaps through religious libertarianism, and by minimizing harm to all people through reconsideration of cattle laws and direct action to address anti-Islam violence, the religious and cultural diversity of India could benefit.